Enlighten me then.
It's not uncommon for movie fans to come across scandalous films exploring the dynamics of relationships, the seedy side of show business, or the struggles of addiction. This applies even more to classic comedic film watchers. To spare viewers from potentially uncomfortable situations with their parents, here's a list of movies you should definitely avoid watching together. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. The cult midnight movie you're referring to is The Rocky Horror Picture Show, a beloved classic that has been entertaining audiences for decades. While it's known for its catchy songs, quirky characters, and over-the-top performances, watching it with your parents might depend on their views of the current political landscape. The Rocky Horror Picture Show features plenty of innuendo and revealing costumes, but very little nudity. However, the introduction of Tim Curry's character, Dr. Frank N. Furter, a sweet transvestite from Transylvania, may make some parents uneasy, especially if they have conservative views or are uncomfortable with LGBTQ+ themes. So if you're considering watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show with your parents, it's important to consider their attitudes towards gender identity. While many people enjoy the film for its campy fun, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and it's best to avoid any potential discomfort by choosing a different movie for family viewing. The Apartment. The award-winning dramedy you're referring to is The Apartment, starring Jack Lemmon as an insurance man who lends his apartment to executives for their extramarital affairs. While the film is acclaimed for its witty dialogue and nuanced performances, its themes of infidelity and the mention of intimacy in tame terms may make some parents uncomfortable. Additionally, The Apartment features an unseen suicide attempt, which adds another layer of edginess to the film. Depending on your parents' conservative views, they may find certain aspects of the movie unsettling or inappropriate. So, if you're considering watching The Apartment with your parents, it's important to gauge their comfort level with the subject matter beforehand. While it's a classic film worth appreciating, it may not be the best choice for family movie night, if it could lead to discomfort or awkward conversations. Babylon. Babylon is an epic film that can be quite overwhelming to watch, especially for those unaccustomed to movies that exceed 3 hours in length. It's a relentless barrage of depravity, drugs, violence, and bad behavior, making it unsuitable for family viewing. The film's length and intense content likely contributed to its failure to recoup its large budget at the box office. However, it still has its fans who appreciate its boldness and ambition. For viewers undeterred by its length, Babylon may be worth a watch, but it's best enjoyed alone, especially during the more extreme scenes in the first half hour or so. Titani. Titani made waves by premiering at the Cannes Film Festival and winning the prestigious Palme d'Or, a rare feat for a horror movie. It's a wild and provocative ride that doesn't hold back, featuring brazenly confrontational scenes, strange, passionately charged moments, and graphic violence. This is definitely not a movie to watch with parents, and even watching it without parental supervision warrants strong caution. Titani contains shocking material that may not be suitable for all viewers. While it's a powerful and memorable film, it's undeniably not for everyone. So if you're considering watching Titani, be prepared for an intense and challenging experience that pushes boundaries and leaves a lasting impression. Crimes of the Future. David Cronenberg is indeed known for pushing boundaries and making audiences squirm with his body horror films. While not all of his movies fall into this category, many of his most famous ones do. His 2022 film, Crimes of the Future, marks a return to the genre, promising to disturb and shock viewers with its graphic and uncompromising content. In addition to its horrific imagery, Crimes of the Future blends elements of crime and science fiction, featuring a complex film noir-style plot involving synthetic transformation, mutations, and surgical procedures for artistic purposes. It's strange and unsettling material that is guaranteed to create the wrong vibe for any family movie night. So, if you're considering watching a David Cronenberg film with your family, it might be best to choose one of his less disturbing works. Crimes of the Future is definitely not for the faint of heart or for family viewing. The Wolf of Wall Street. Martin Scorsese has a knack for making films that appeal to audiences of all ages, from his early work in the late 1960s to his more recent projects like The Killers of the Flower Moon. However, not all of his films are suitable for family viewing. While movies like Hugo might make for wholesome family entertainment, The Wolf of Wall Street is definitely not one of them. This 3-hour epic delves into the excesses, crimes, and debauchery of corrupt Wall Street businessman Jordan Belfort with unflinching detail. It's a wild ride, but not one you want to take with your parents. So, if you're planning a Scorsese movie night with the family, maybe skip The Wolf of Wall Street and opt for something a bit more family-friendly instead. American Psycho. American Psycho offers a stark departure from Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman in The Dark Knight. In this film, Bale plays Patrick Bateman, a wealthy and violent Wall Street serial killer. Needless to say, watching this with your family might lead to some seriously awkward moments, especially for Batman fans. While American Psycho is a gripping film with dark humor and sharp satire, it's not exactly family-friendly. The movie pulls no punches in adapting its grisly source material, offering a scathing critique of excessive wealth and power. So, while it's a great film to watch on your own, enjoying its dark comedy and biting commentary, it's probably best to steer clear of watching it with your parents. The iconic business card scene might be the only part you could safely share with them. Mid-90s. Jonah Hill's directorial debut, Mid-90s, offers a bittersweet and honest coming-of-age story set in, you guessed it, the mid-90s. True to the era and the age of its characters, the film doesn't shy away from swearing, reflecting how kids in their early teens often talk when there are no adults around. For many viewers, watching mid-90s with parents might lead to some uncomfortable conversations about whether they talked like that at the same age. So unless you're prepared for those inevitable questions, it's probably best to save this one for solo viewing or with friends. Borat. Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen's iconic character, burst onto the big screen in 2006 with a mix of crude humor, sharp satire, and uncomfortable social commentary. Cohen plays a journalist from Kazakhstan who travels to the U.S., using his character to expose prejudices through outrageous and sometimes gross antics. While Borat is undeniably clever in its satire, its crude humor and shocking moments can make it difficult to watch, especially with parents in the room. The film walks a fine line between hilarity and discomfort, leaving audiences laughing nervously and squirming in their seats. So if you're thinking of watching Borat, it might be best to do so without parental company. That way you can fully appreciate its humor and commentary without worrying about awkward moments. Annette. Annette presents a unique collaboration between the eccentric musician duo Sparks and director Leos Carax, with a captivating yet tense performance from Adam Driver. But watching this film is an experience best reserved for non-parental company. Clocking in at nearly 2.5 hours, Annette delves into dark and surreal territory, enhanced by its musical format. The film features intentionally bad stand-up comedy, intense love scenes, a creepy puppet, and a deeply unsettling atmosphere throughout. Even setting aside its content, the sheer strangeness of Annette might be too much for parents to handle, and discussing it afterward could prove challenging. So, if you're curious about this offbeat musical, it's best to watch it with friends rather than family. Requiem for a Dream. While the poster for Requiem for a Dream may seem tame with its depiction of an eyeball and a lady on a pier, the content of the film is anything but. Directed by Darren Aronofsky, this addiction drama delves into dark and disturbing territory, featuring fridge monsters, intravenous substance use, and more. While you might be tempted to watch it with your parents, thinking it could spark discussions about morality and feature intelligent dialogue, the reality is quite different. The film's portrayal of addiction is raw and unflinching, with scenes that are difficult to watch, including Jared Leto's character's deteriorating arm and the other infamous scene. So while Requiem for a Dream may have its merits, it's definitely not a movie to watch with your parents. Trust us on this one, it's best to steer clear. Caligula. Caligula, released in 1979, offers a graphic portrayal of the infamous Roman emperor's violent ascent to power and subsequent descent into madness. Malcolm McDowell takes on the role of Caligula, portraying him as a hedonistic and violent ruler. While the idea of a tyrant gone wild is not unfamiliar to modern audiences, what sets Caligula apart is its explicit content. Produced by Bob Guccione, founder of Penthouse magazine, the film includes additional orgy scenes filmed with Penthouse pets after initial production. Given its origins, Caligula is definitely not suitable for family viewing. However, for fans of cult cinema, it's a fascinating watch. Despite being panned by critics like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, its grand scale, intense performances, and adult content have made it a curiosity for movie enthusiasts. Just be aware of what you're getting into before watching. Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct features a scene so infamous, it's a clear sign to keep parents out of the room. Starring Michael Douglas as homicide detective Nick Curran and Sharon Stone as crime novelist Catherine Trammell, the movie centers around their collision after Catherine's boyfriend is murdered, leading to a tangled investigation and a steamy affair. While audiences flocked to theaters in 1992, critics noted the film's excessive violence and misogyny. Still, it raked in a whopping $352 million worldwide. Director Paul Verhoeven doesn't hold back on the chemistry and danger between his leads, but it's definitely not family-friendly fare. The movie isn't without controversy either. Stone revealed in her memoir that she felt deceived about certain scenes, including the infamous interrogation scene. So, viewers beware, Basic Instinct is a product of its time, best enjoyed without parental company. Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights, released in 1997, boasts an impressive ensemble cast including Mark Wahlberg, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Heather Graham, and Don Cheadle. It's also the film that put Paul Thomas Anderson on the map as a serious director and earned Burt Reynolds an Oscar nomination. The movie follows the journey of Dirk Diggler, played by Wahlberg, as he rises and falls in the adult film industry of the 1970s and 80s. It's a roller coaster of emotions, blending humor, tragedy, terror, and empathy for all its characters. From its iconic opening tracking shot to its gripping finale, Boogie Nights keeps viewers engaged throughout. However, it's definitely not a movie to watch with your parents. Anderson doesn't shy away from depicting the realities of 70s adult filmmaking, and the film's frank approach prevents it from feeling exploitative. So while it's not necessarily gross, it's not exactly family-friendly either. But for film enthusiasts, Boogie Nights is a must-see. Pleasure. Pleasure, directed by Ninja Thyberg, offers a raw and unfiltered look into the adult film industry through the eyes of aspiring actress Bella Cherry, played convincingly by Sophia Kappel. Unlike Boogie Nights, which focuses more on character drama, Pleasure delves into the nitty-gritty of how adult films are made. But, fair warning, this movie is not one to watch with just anyone. Thyberg leaves no aspect of the industry untouched, shining a spotlight on the behind-the-scenes details that many might find uncomfortable. The film's meticulous attention to detail serves a dual purpose, educating viewers on the filmmaking process and highlighting the issue of consent within the industry. While some scenes may be jarring, Pleasure isn't aiming to shock for the sake of it. Instead, it offers a thoughtful examination of a taboo subject. Thyberg's talent hasn't gone unnoticed either. She received the Women in Motion Young Talent Award at Cannes for her work on the film. Showgirls. Showgirls, starring Elizabeth Berkley in her first dramatic role, didn't exactly win over critics when it first came out. But over time, it gained a devoted following and even inspired a documentary called You Don't Know Me, named after Berkley's character. The movie was written by Joe Esterhaaz and directed by Paul Verhoeven, the same duo behind Basic Instinct. It's like All About Eve, but set in the world of Las Vegas showgirls. When Berkley's character Nomi arrives in Vegas, we're taken on a wild ride through seedy bars, flashy stages, and all kinds of hotel rooms. Showgirls is a mix of campy fun and bold vulgarity. Verhoeven doesn't hold back, making everything big and loud, from the sets to the musical numbers. But despite the over-the-top vibe, the movie takes its characters' emotions seriously. Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley Kubrick's last film, is definitely not one to watch with your parents, and definitely not with your in-laws either. It follows the story of Bill and Alice Harford, a married couple played by Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. The movie kicks off with a heated discussion about their bedroom life, and things only get more complicated from there as they're both tempted by extramarital desires. Despite its seemingly straightforward plot, Kubrick's surreal visuals and meticulous attention to detail turn the couple's journey into a strange and unsettling odyssey. I won't spoil any more about what Bill and Alice uncover along the way, but if you're curious to see Kubrick's final masterpiece, Eyes Wide Shut is definitely a solo viewing experience. Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is an absolute must-see for anyone who loves ensemble comedies. It's a riot from start to finish, following Annie, played by Kristen Wiig, as she navigates the ups and downs of being maid of honor for her best friend Lillian, played by Maya Rudolph. What makes the movie so great is its fantastic cast, including Wiig, Rudolph, Melissa McCarthy, Wendy McClendon-Covey, Ellie Kemper, Rose Byrne, and Chris O'Dowd. And let's not forget Jon Hamm's hilarious turn as Annie's less-than-stellar boyfriend. Critics praised Bridesmaids for breaking the mold with its women-centric humor, giving audiences a refreshing change from the usual male-dominated comedies. But make no mistake, this movie is definitely not for the faint of heart. It's got some pretty raunchy humor, especially right from the opening scene, so maybe save it for a girls' night or a solo viewing. Blonde. Blonde, a 2022 biopic about Marilyn Monroe starring Ana de Armas, has sparked controversy since its release. Despite receiving mostly negative reviews and criticism for its portrayal of feminism, the film still grabbed attention, even hitting #1 on Netflix shortly after its debut. Based on Joyce Carol Oates' semi-fictional biography, the movie takes viewers through Monroe's entire life, using heavily stylized filmmaking to immerse them in both the triumphs and traumas she experienced. While technically impressive, the movie's content can be quite difficult to watch. It's rated NC-17 for a reason, with graphic and sometimes unsettling scenes. If you're curious about the buzz surrounding Blonde, just be prepared for a tough viewing experience. It might be best to watch it alone, as its content isn't for everyone. Lolita. Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Lolita, based on Vladimir Nabokov's controversial novel, is not an easy watch. It tells the story of Professor Humbert Humbert's disturbing infatuation with the 12-year-old Dolores Lolita Hayes, and the troubling events that follow as he pursues his desires. While the movie isn't as explicit as some others mentioned, its subject matter is still deeply uncomfortable. It's a sharp satire that highlights the dangers of rationalization and victim blaming. Despite the challenging material, the movie is worth checking out for Kubrick's masterful direction and the strong performances from its 60s-era cast. However, it's important to note that the movie had to tone down some of the book's most unsettling scenes to even be made. So if you're curious about Nabokov's story, the movie might be a more manageable experience than the book. Just remember, it's definitely not suitable for family viewing. Magic Mike. Magic Mike, directed by Steven Soderbergh, was a huge hit in theaters. Can you believe it made over $167 million with just a $7 million budget? This movie follows the story of Channing Tatum as the main character, who's a dancer. It's got all the cool stuff you'd expect from a Soderbergh film. It's stylish, fun, and has a really great cast. But even though it's about dancers, it's actually pretty smart too. Channing Tatum's charm really shines through as Mike, and the rest of the cast, like Matthew McConaughey as the club owner and Olivia Munn as Mike's friend, are all fantastic. Instead of just being a fun movie about dancing, Magic Mike also takes a closer look at the challenges dancers face. So while you'll definitely enjoy the dancing, you'll also get to know the characters really well. Just make sure to watch it without your parents around. 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey became a big deal in the 2010s. This movie, based on a book with the same name, tells the story of Anastasia Steele, a young woman starting a relationship with a rich guy named Christian Grey, who's into some intense stuff. People really liked the movie when it came out, and it made tons of money with sequels later on, earning over $1 billion. Can you believe it started as a type of Twilight fan story? The main actress, Dakota Johnson, did a great job in her first big role. Playing Anastasia meant handling some tricky lines and steamy scenes, and Johnson really went for it. Since then, she's been in all sorts of movies, from big Hollywood ones like Black Mass to smaller ones like Peanut Butter Falcon and Bad Times at the El Royale. If you're curious to see her early work, definitely give 50 Shades a watch. But fair warning, it's got some pretty grown-up themes, so maybe save it for a solo movie night. Do you agree with our list? Which movies have you regretted watching with your family? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for regular updates. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.